Let's now turn our attention to graphic design. As I said earlier, graphic designers are in a stronger and more important position than perhaps any other time in history. And that's because the work that you create, the beautiful image, the beautiful illustrations, the layouts that you create, touch everyone. They touch all of us. Graphic design, as I think you all know, has been a key focus for Adobe over the years. Our core design tools, Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, are tried and true industry standards. We are honored to play this key role. We're humbled at the same time. We aren't resting on our laurels. We are not standing still. What I'd like to do now is to invite up Michael Ninnis, who will share our latest innovations in graphic design workflows. Michael?
Woo! Thank you, Brian. Wow, it is great to be back here on the Mac stage. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to share some of the work we've been doing to modernize my personal 3 favorite Adobe applications, Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop. In a moment, I'll share how Creative Sync provides huge productivity gains across the desktop. But first, let's start with Illustrator and see what we've done to dramatically increase precision and performance. For a moment, let's take a trip back to the past and remember what it was like to pan and zoom in an old version of Illustrator like CS6. Let's go ahead and just do something simple, fit to window, Command 0. And you'll see it takes a second for that artwork to draw at that new screen level. Every time I click the zoom tool, this old version of Illustrator pauses and delays as it's redrawing that artwork. If I get the hand tool, same thing. You'll notice a lag and a delay as that artwork is panning across the screen. So let's see what panning and zooming is like in the new version of Illustrator, Illustrator CC 2015, the fastest version of Illustrator ever. Let's do the same thing. We'll do a fit to window, Command 0. And every time I get the zoom tool and click, you'll see I don't get those annoying delays like we saw in CS6. Same thing with the hand tool. The artwork now pans smoothly across the screen without delay. Now, in previous versions of Illustrator, we could zoom in to a pretty low maximum. I'm going to zoom in on this little solar system that's inside this illustration here. And you'll see the farthest I can zoom in the old version was 6,400%. So I can see there's a little bit of detail in that solar system, but I can't quite make out what it says. Well, in the new version of Illustrator, I can just keep zooming all the way to 64,000%. Awesome. Good. So in Illustrator CC, panning and zooming is now 10 times faster and 10 times more precise than CS6. Okay, last year at Max, we introduced the Touch Workspace in Illustrator. And this ushered in a whole new way of working with Illustrator that takes advantage of touch and stylus input on touch-enabled devices like the Surface Pro 3. Of course, touch and stylus use is a given for mobile applications, but we believe at Adobe that touch and stylus use are going to continue to grow rapidly on the desktop as well. Perhaps the best way to show off our continued work on touch is to show off the new Shaper tool in Illustrator. You can see here I'm running the full desktop version of Illustrator on this device. I'm going to go ahead and start showing the Shaper tool here. First, though, if I turn off this top layer, you'll see all these icons and logos were built from just basic shapes. That Shaper tool is made for you to be able to create and build with shapes very, very quickly. Let's go ahead and zoom in, and we'll see what I mean. Let's try that again. Okay. All right. Got a keyboard malfunction. Let's go and switch to that. Okay. So the first thing to know about the Shaper tool is that it now recognizes natural drawing gestures and converts them into basic objects. I can use my stylus or my finger to draw directly on the screen, and I get my basic shapes. I can even use a squiggle gesture to go ahead and delete those objects as well. The thing to know about the Shaper tool is it actually creates live shapes now. So all these shapes have properties that can be changed after the objects have been drawn. So for instance, the circle can be changed to a pie chart or a wedge. Corners can be rounded, and the polygon can actually have the number of sides changed as well. Now, if I take the, let's try that again. There we go. So let's go ahead and delete these objects. If I remove the keyboard from this device, it basically converts from a laptop into a tablet, and Illustrator automatically switches to the touch workspace. So I'm going to keep working on this logo here. I need one more circle. I'm going to go ahead and move that into position, and just going to make that a little bit larger. The other thing to know about the shaper tool is you can also use gestures to perform pathfinder operations, to merge or subtract overlapping objects. So watch what happens as I just start scribbling over the parts of the shapes that I don't want, or the parts that I want to combine. As I do this, you'll start to see a bird emerging from these basic shapes and creating that basic logo. Pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and give it a stroke and fill, and there, with just a few basic shapes and a few squiggles, I created something pretty interesting very quickly. All right, when I snap the keyboard back onto this device, it converts back into a laptop, and what I want to do is use this logo across a letterhead package to see how it's working. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and drag that into one of my CC libraries so that I can use that on my other machine. All right, let's switch back over to the Mac, and here I am on InDesign, and we have, through the power of Creative Sync, there's that logo that I just created on that device, now here in my CC library. I'm going to go ahead and drag this out and place this 3 different times in this letterhead package. Looking good. And now that I see it laid out like this, I want to make a few changes. The stem of that P is a little bit too tall. It's the wrong color. So I'm going to switch back over to Illustrator. If we open up our CC Libraries panel, I'm going to go ahead and right-click and choose Edit. Now, we recall we created this logo with the Shaper tool, and the Shaper tool I was able to use on a touch-enabled device, either with my finger or the stylus. I can also use it on a Mac with a Wacom or a Cintiq. The best thing about the Shaper tool is that those Pathfinder operations that we completed earlier, they're actually live now, which means you don't lose access to those construction objects you use to build this composite shape. Let me show you what I mean. If I just double-click into the object, I can select any of the individual pieces and still modify that logo. So if I want to make the bird just a little bit skinnier, I can modify that ellipse, and it still remains that composite shape. I'm going to go ahead and delete that portion of it so I end up with a rounded version. Next thing, let's go ahead and change the fill and color, fill and stroke. And we'll go ahead and save this, and you'll see the thumbnail update in the Libraries panel. All right, let's jump back over to InDesign, and we'll see that that logo is now out of date. But that's not a problem, because when you place an asset from a CC library, it can get placed as a linked asset. I can just click on this out of date or out of sync icon in the links panel, and Creative Sync automatically updates that to the new version for me. Pretty sweet. All right, we have time for one more thing in Illustrator. How many of you are used to working off of documents like these static style guides, right? This is exactly the kind of problem that CC libraries and Creative Sync were built for. You can see I've added the elements from this Illustrator file into this shared library, and I want to add one more thing. I want to have this paragraph style added to this library as well, because I'm going to be working on a document in InDesign, and I want to share the paragraph styles that I've defined in Illustrator and use them over in InDesign. Who's wanted that for a really long time? Go ahead and click the Add Paragraph Style button. We'll go ahead and give that a name, call it Pull Quote. Great, and let's switch back over to InDesign, where I'm working on a print document for a travel adventure company. There's a few things I want to change on the last page, so let's go ahead and navigate to that page, and we're going to switch to the appropriate CC library for this project. And on this page, I have this pull quote that I want to use that paragraph style for. So with a single click, I've got that look and feel that I'm looking for by sharing those styles back and forth between InDesign and Illustrator, even Photoshop. All right, let's zoom in and take a look at this pull quote, and I'm noticing a problem. The swatches of the D and the L characters are actually colliding. Turns out I'm using an open type font here, and one of the great features of open type fonts is that they often contain alternate glyphs for each character. Now, accessing those alternate glyphs in a product like InDesign has been tedious sometimes in the past, but not now. Watch what happens when I just select an individual character. If there are any alternate glyphs available in this font, they show up right here. Thank you guys, you just settled the bet. I bet you guys were gonna applaud on that one, and everyone's like, really? I don't know, we know typography, right? I can just select the character that I wanna use directly under my cursor. On this G, there's a nice alternate that I wanna use. On this K, I wanna use a nice longer swash version. And then for the S, I'll use that more interesting capital letter S. So no more hunting through. Thank you. No more hunting through a bunch of submenus or trying to remember which panel you need to go to find that. All right, so we're done with this print version, but it would be great to be able to distribute this document to a much larger audience than the print version alone can achieve. So I'm thrilled to show you for the first time on the Mac stage a new feature in InDesign called Publish Online. You can now repurpose your print documents effortlessly by publishing them digitally. These digital documents can be viewed with full fidelity directly in a desktop or mobile web browser without requiring a plugin. Now, before we actually publish this, let's go ahead and make a few changes to this document to take advantage of the fact that it can be digital. The first thing I'll do is I'll add an animation preset to this pull quote so that if the page loads in the browser, it'll actually animate onto the screen. I'm going to choose an animation preset from the animations panel. You can see there's a long list of presets available in InDesign here. I'm going to choose fly in from bottom, and you'll see that it adds a green motion path to that box to let me know its direction and how it's going to animate when it comes into the browser. On this page here, this is a typical print layout. I want to take advantage of the fact that it can be a digital screen document, so I want the images to be a lot larger and I want it to be more interactive. So I'm going to turn off the print version of this page. And earlier, I had created a fully interactive slideshow widget, just using the interactive authoring features of InDesign. And I saved that into a CC library. Now I can just drag it out and reuse it in this document. So I'm going to go ahead and place that on the page. And then when this publishes, it's just going to work. All right, we're done with these few changes. I'm ready to now publish this document and share it with the world. I'm going to go ahead and click the Publish Online button. And with just one click, InDesign is now generating a fully digital version of this document. It will upload it to a server and then generate a unique URL that you'll be able to share on social channels or by email. Let's go ahead and jump to the browser where we'll see the finished version. So here we are in Safari or Chrome or whatever. Here's the beautiful animation here on the second page, this beautiful slow-mowing panoramic image. It's a little bit more difficult to do that with the print version. The table of contents is here. I can put the document in full screen. I can turn on the thumbnails that InDesign automatically generated for me, and I can use that to navigate across the other document. On this, here's that slideshow that we added from our CC libraries earlier. Here's an example of a little bit more complex interaction where I can click a button, I get the slideshow, this drawer pulling up with an embedded video as well. In addition to being able to share on social channels like Twitter and Facebook, I can also embed this document on any other website by using the embed feature. You'll get a fully interactive version of that document that you can put in any other website, just like you can a YouTube video. So there you have it, one-click digital publishing from InDesign. Pretty sweet. Okay, so that's just a taste of what's coming in Illustrator and InDesign, but of course, we can't forget about Photoshop. Incorporating human characters into composite images is challenging. Whether you're pre-visualizing a photo shoot or creating a final concept, it takes a lot of time and patience and attention to detail to get things to look just right. The Photoshop team is reinventing the process to create and composite human characters. To jumpstart this effort, Adobe recently acquired a fantastic company called Mixamo, which was known for making it easy for game developers to create and animate digital characters. Today, we're introducing Adobe Fuse, a new desktop application for anyone to create fully customizable 3D human characters in just minutes. And of course, the integration with Photoshop, it's pretty sweet. Rather than talking about it though, to show you all what we mean, please welcome Chantel Benson to the stage. Take it away, Chantel.
Thank you, Michael. I'm honored to be here at Max to show you Fuse and all the cool things you can do with Fuse characters inside Photoshop. Now, today, I am working on a concept for an image that's going to go on my client's running event website. And I'm going to start in Fuse by turning this base model into the character we need for the image. And Fuse works a lot like any avatar creator in a video game. And so it's really easy for me to get him all suited up to go for a run, even down to these spiffy running shoes. And I want to break up the darkness of his outfit with a little bit of color here. So I'm also going to change his top to get a little more pop. That's looking nice. So let's add some to the sleeves as well. Okay. All right. Now that that's done, in just a few clicks, I was able to get a pretty different looking character, and it didn't take me much time. But I want to make him even more my own. I don't want him to be the base model that I started out with. And I'm going to zoom in on the face to show you that Fuse is really good at customization. So I'm just highlighting these areas, and each one of these is all around the body and the face. I can make really big changes or very subtle, nuanced changes to make him look like anybody that I want. And I'm just doing a few things here that I think will really sell this look of the determined runner that I'm going for. All right, great. So just like that, I have a unique character that I'm ready to use in my layout. And so I'm pretty much done with Fuse at this point, and I want to get him into Photoshop so I can start putting him into my comp. To do that, I'm going to leverage the power of Creative Sync and save him to my Creative Cloud library. And this process can take a few moments, so in the interest of your time, let's go over to Photoshop, where I have an identical runner that I've already saved in my library. There he is, right there. OK, so let's get him onto the canvas, see how this looks like when it's all coming together. All right, not bad. But he doesn't exactly look like he's running, does he? So to do something about that, let's use a brand new feature right inside Photoshop that gives me access to a library that's home to thousands of poses and animations. And as you'll notice, just clicking on these animations is going to transfer the pose directly onto my runner, right like that. I didn't have to go find a new image. He's just doing a cool karate kick. So I'm just going to show you a few of these for variety. This is a vast library. We've got dancing animations and all sorts of stuff. But you don't have to just choose the pose that you first see when you load it onto the character. You can actually play through the whole thing and choose whatever pose is good for you. It's rocking out there. A little air guitar, right? So let's stop him. He doesn't need to play more air guitar. We're doing an image for a running website. So let's get serious. Let's put this sprinting pose on him. I like that a lot. It's got a lot of energy. It's dynamic. That's what my client was going for. And the only thing I would like to change about it is that he's not looking at the camera. Wouldn't that be more compelling? So another great feature of this workflow is that I have a ton of detail control to do things like tilt up his head. And whenever you have a photo of somebody, wouldn't it be nice to just oh, if you could just turn it a little more, wouldn't that be great? In this, it's totally possible. So now I'm really happy with the placement of our runner, and I'm ready to see what it looks like when I add in some of the elements that I was working on earlier. So I'm just going to turn on these layers. I've got some text treatment and some background elements that really give some depth and movement to the piece. And great, at this point, I could probably send it off to the client. I've done everything they've asked me to. It's a male runner in a dynamic pose. He's coming towards camera. There's an abstract background. They should love it, right? But you know what's going to happen. They'll come back to me with something like, yeah, it's great. Could you turn him a little to the left? Normally, that kind of feedback could send me for a loop, and I'd probably have to start from pretty much square one. But with this workflow, I have a ton of flexibility to make changes at any point in the creative process. And that means I can iterate and explore and get the right placement and perspective that is the best one for my layout and what I'm working on. All right, I like this right here, and there's just one more change I want to make. That's to the lighting. And let's see if we can improve upon this a little bit and playing around. You'll notice all the shadows and the highlights are updating automatically. And right about there is good. OK. Voila. I have a compelling image that I could use as either a concept, a plan for a photo shoot, or I could keep pushing this further and render it out for a final image. Getting to this point could have taken me hours or even days. But with Fuse and Photoshop, it came together really quickly. This is a really fun and flexible workflow we think can really drive your creative process. And we cannot wait to see what you make with it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chantel and Michael. This is yet another incredible release for designers. I think you'll share that with me. We've increased both the precision and the performance in Illustrator. We've modernized how you create complex shapes like logos with the amazing new Shaper tool. With InDesign, we've empowered designers to deploy interactive documents directly to the web. And then finally, we've streamlined image composition workflows with the new product Adobe Fuse, integrating that with dynamic models into Photoshop that give you all the flexibility you need to create and to quickly update complex design mockups. And of course, all of your styles and your assets are available across all of your apps. I think you've heard that story from us today, through the connected power of Creative Cloud libraries and Creative Sync. But there's one more thing that I'd like to emphasize coming out of this session. Michael showed off how we've deeply enabled touch in Illustrator on Windows to let you directly create and edit your design using natural gestures. I think you got a sense earlier in the session how we've really put a lot of effort and touch on mobile in general with the iPad Pro. But we're optimizing our apps on Windows for touch, and this has been a huge focus for us over the past year. Let's take a quick look now at how touch modernizes the desktop design experience. I'm deeply touched. We've worked closely with our friends at Microsoft to redesign our creative apps for touch on Windows. Today, I'm excited to announce that all of our core creative apps now have full support for touch on Windows, and that includes Illustrator, InDesign, Acrobat, Photoshop, Lightroom, Premiere, After Effects. You saw the character animator there. And much more. So this is a huge investment that we've made.